Hey there, boils and ghouls. Welcome to another episode of Hollow Weekly in the month of October, so it's Halloween all month long.
Finally.
Nick and George here with our top 3 devils. Best on-screen devils,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a runner-up. I was gonna put some video games in there.
Wow.
But yeah. Most part it's film. But the my devil comes from a film, so
Right. Okay.
Well, you know what? No, wait. I lied. It's all TV. I was just thinking about his latest appearance. His latest appearance is in television.
It's no worry.
So yeah, it does make sense.
But I'm excited about this. One of the things that I like when we do episodes like this because I discover a whole bunch of shit I didn't know or like think of things. So I realized halfway through building this list that most movies, even when they have a devil, the devil's a very bit part.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, the most extended devil performance I found was Pacino in Devil's Advocate.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of movies where the devil's like 1 scene, 2 scenes, 3 scenes, not much dialogue. He's in End of Days a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Which is not on my list.
My one runner-up is in it quite a bit.
Okay, perfect.
But we'll get to that at the end.
But there are a lot of good performances. This was hard to narrow down.
It was a bit of a challenge.
But we can give honorable mentions at the end.
Honorable mentions at the end. Yeah.
Just the ones who barely made it, right? But all right, so I'll start with my number 3 performance, which is Robert De Niro in Angel Heart. Now, I know, big surprise.
No surprise. That's like me being like, "Did you know I like Sleepy Hollow?"
You know, trick or treat. So all right, so but
it's a good choice.
Here's the thing, though, because I have some problems with De Niro's performance in this, and if I was being honest,
is his hair one of them?
His hair is one of them. The contact lenses are another one of them.
The amount of eggs he eats.
No, actually, that's one of my favorite things. but the weird thing is, like, so if I was an actor and you asked me to play the devil and you gave me the option of modeling it off like Peter Stormare from Constantine or De Niro, I'd probably go with Constantine. The performance is like more fun, you know? But there's a couple reasons why I picked this. I don't think it's like... all right, I'm going to stop. Let me explain to you why I'm picking this one. First of all, it's one of the movies that legitimately scared me after watching it. It's a legitimately frightening film, which I feel like is an important element because there's a lot of devil performances where even if it's a horror movie like Constantine, it's not scary at all. Right?
Yeah.
This movie really rattled me 2 times, you know. So it's an authentically scary movie, which I feel like on the list the devil deserves. Because I have a feeling we're gonna have things like Bedazzled and stuff over there, and we are a horror podcast, so I wanted to get at least one like authentically scary one in here. The other thing is that it's a really unique situation because when you think about, like, say, Devil's Advocate, there are scenes where Al Pacino's playing across from Charlize Theron, and scenes when he's playing across from Keanu, and scenes when he's playing with like his assistants or slaves at the law firm or whatever, right? There is no scene in this movie where Robert De Niro is not playing against Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
They're all like basically 2-actor scenes, right? And I found this really fascinating thing from Alan Parker, the director of the movie, where he was talking about how he thinks Mickey Rourke's like the most underrated actor of his generation. He thinks he's fantastic, right? Big, he'll go to bat for him every time. He shot with 2 cameras simultaneously on both of them because he figured if they were going to improvise, he wanted to catch both simultaneously reactions and have the options instead of cutting back and forth. And he said, so this is actually a direct quote from him. And he said, with their first scene together, Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro, he said, as we began, it was clear that this process was not about acting. This was watching a couple of prize fighters circling each other, testing each other, an ad-lib jab here, a wisecrack left hook there. He goes, Bob, I love that he calls De Niro Bob. This is the best. Bob was cool, meticulous, charming, and generous, but had everything under control. Mickey gave as good as he got for the first one, but you could tell he was nervous. For me, as the referee onlooker, it was electric to watch if at times somewhat mystifying as to what the hell they were talking about as they ran circles around my script. All right. So that was the first scene, right? Then the second scene was the one you were talking about with the eggs.
Yeah.
And he said you could tell that Mickey Rourke felt like he lost the first battle, so he came in with like more heat, more confidence, threw De Niro off a little bit, and then he goes, De Niro just got back like immaculate control, right? And he goes, he thinks De Niro was a little pissed that Rourke was like coming at him. Like, so that's when the egg thing happened. And he said everyone in the room when we were filming it got chills. When De Niro crunched the shell of the egg, it seemed like he was breaking every bone in Mickey Rourke's body.
Well, you know what they say about slugs.
No, what do they say about slugs?
They always leave slime in their tracks.
God damn.
It was so good. That egg roll and the just like, and it was an acting duel, right? Like it was more about them trying to figure out how to play across from each other. And you know, because Mickey Rourke's so talented, even though he was young, whatever. I mean, you're going toe to toe with De Niro. It's fucking terrifying, right?
That is scary.
Right. So, but I thought that was really cool. And then the other thing that really makes me want to put this in here is there's something really, really unique in this movie. So the movie is about the devil hires Mickey Rourke, who's a detective, to track down himself. But but Mickey Rourke doesn't know that, right?
Yeah.
So Mickey Rourke's actually a doomed guy who did a satanic ritual and then hid by cutting out the heart of someone and hiding in their body. But he has amnesia. He got it in the war, so he doesn't know that he's actually a different person called Johnny Favorite.
Yeah.
So Robert De Niro, the devil, hires Mickey Rourke to chase down Johnny Favorite, which turns out is him, right? But what happens is, and this shouldn't work at all. I don't know. But the more I think about it, the more it blows my mind.
The more it makes me want to watch it.
I know, but this is mind blowing to me. There are action sequences. Things happen. You know, people die in horrifying fashions, right? And then De Niro shows up every once in a while and wants a report from Mickey Rourke. And then Mickey Rourke is telling him what we just saw. So there's big chunks of the movie where it's two people in the room and Mickey Rourke's basically narrating what we just saw, which should be boring. But it's not boring because De Niro's actually terrifying, like underneath. And Mickey Rourke, you can tell, and he's acting the hell out of this, is getting more and more scared for himself. He knows something's really wrong, because whatever. But you have these huge scenes of just description of what we already just watched. And the amazing part of this is the devil knows all of this in advance. He doesn't need these reports.
Yeah. He's
right?
just...
So with that, so fill in the blank. He's just what?
He's just fucking with him.
Right, it's like right, exactly. But when you realize that not only is he hiring someone to direct on themselves, which is a horrible mindfuck, you know, like whatever, but he wants to relish it. So he's demanding reports. So then when Mickey Rourke comes back, he's like, there's actually one moment because Mickey Rourke is the one doing all the killing.
Yeah.
All the he doesn't know it, but all the people who were dying, getting their throats cut, and oh my God, I can't even say what some of the stuff happens. It's hard for me to talk about, but like what happens to Lisa Bonet eventually.
Yeah.
But the thing is that he shows up and he's doing the report and he turns to De Niro and De Niro goes, well, you'll find Johnny Favorite eventually. He's like, no, I won't, I'm quitting. And De Niro's like, why are you quitting? He's like, there's a detail I left out. The guy I went to visit, I found him with his throat cut. And De Niro's like, did you kill him? And he's like, no, but yes.
You absolutely,
right, exactly.
You are the killer.
So this is literally, I think, some of the movies, even with great performances like Devil and Daniel Webster, which is one of my favorites, one of my honorable mentions. The devil's plan is basically, I want your soul, and then the guy's like, I believe in God now, you can't have my soul, and then. This framework of the story is just so evil, right? That I feel like it does justice to the concept. So my number 3, Angel Heart.
That's good. All right, so I added this to my list this morning because I was going back and forth. I wanted to add some video game devils and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. But then I was like, what devil has actually, like, impacted me and scared me possibly the same way Angel Heart scared you?
Yes.
And I was like, can I even put this on the list? Because he really only shows up for a few frames.
Wow, really?
I'm going technically.
Okay.
So I'm
I'm intrigued.
I'm gonna go with Pazuzu
Oh shit!
from The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I mean, technically he does take over the body
Of course.
of Reagan,
Right.
but really we only see a statue of him in Iraq
Yep.
because I think that's him, and then the few frames he pops up in The Exorcist.
Yep.
And I know Exorcist is the all-time horror classic. It's up there with like Jaws and Alien and all that other shit.
Absolutely.
But like, out of all of that, the things that scare me the fucking most were like those flashes.
The subliminal.
Yeah.
Yep.
And whenever I'm like scrolling through Instagram and somebody like posts that image, it always like
It's terrifying.
it sends chills down my spine every time. And I stop and I look at
terrible.
it and I can't stop looking at it.
Yep.
And so I just wrote down this face for years has scared people. Mm-hmm. And this motherfucker only it's not like he has a scene that he can chew up like De Niro or some of my other choices. This motherfucker's just like flash,
Yep.
flash,
Yep.
and that's it. That's all you get, and that's all that face
Talk
needs
about
to do.
literally scene stealing.
Yeah, he's,
Right.
He's literally just stealing the scenes there, and I just that image just always burned
Yep.
in my head. And I remember, I think one of the other Exorcist films that they did, it was past 3. It was in the 2000s. They did The Exorcist: The Beginning, or some, what it was like.
Or
it was supposed to,
Dominion or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was supposed to be like the intro. I remember I was watching that on demand when we had just like got cable, and I was real excited. So like I rented that movie, and I remember watching that film, and that frame, it pops up for just a frame, and I remember rewinding it and being like, "That's the face I saw from the other film," and it just scares the shit out of me. So he's just
Yep.
popping up all over the place. And so a little history about Pazuzu, because I was like, okay, so I've known who he is. I've seen the films. I've seen the face. It scares the shit out of me, but I never really like did a deep dive into like who.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what you came up with because I was trying to keep my list with no subdemons, just like the big man himself.
Yeah.
But this is it's interesting to me because he's like from like Assyria or something, Mesopotamia.
So, well, this is why I put him on the list. So Pazuzu is the main antagonist of the Exorcist horror novels and film series created by William Peter Blatty. The character came from an Assyrian and Babylonian mythology where Pazuzu was considered the king of demons of the wind.
Okay.
So he's a king of a subset of demons. But here's why I think he makes the list. He's also the son of the god Hanbi. Known in Western texts, he was the god of evil, lord of all evil forces.
Okay.
So he's the son.
Okay.
So he's
fair enough.
He's next in line.
Fair enough.
He's next in line.
By the way, of all of the ancient civilizations in that area, like ancient Egypt and Babylon, the Assyrians were the worst. They were the evilest, bloodiest, most fucked up. So a good.
So it makes
good
sense.
choice,
It
yeah.
makes sense that Pazuzu.
Yeah.
So then Hanbi.
Google them, you'll find it. They're like the Spartans' evil brother.
Jesus Christ. Well, anyways, so that's apparently where the thing came from. But the crazy thing is so Pazuzu, or I guess we'll say the actual face of Pazuzu, because I guess technically, or Captain Howdy, which I always thought was a really scary name.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, but it
shouldn't
totally
be.
is.
It sounds like someone from fucking like Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Yeah.
But you hear Captain Howdy, and you're just like, something about that is not right.
Yeah, no.
And it just, for some reason, even just saying it for the show, my stomach's getting like a little like, why is that happening?
It's got a little bit of ventriloquist doll feel. I feel like someone would own a ventriloquist doll.
You don't want to be locked in a house with Captain Howdy.
No.
Even if he is like a boat captain. Like, you don't want to be there.
The visuals in my head right
The
now.
visuals.
Like,
But so the main thing about Pazuzu for me is obviously the visuals, because he in The Exorcist, and he doesn't really have a line. It's just, I mean, he speaks through. Right? Again, I'm going face value for Pazuzu on this one.
Absolutely.
And so the cool thing is the makeup effects. I always assumed like, wow, that guy is scary. That guy in that makeup is so horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just read this here. So the makeup effects for Pazuzu, because I'm a big monster guy, so obviously
I don't even know this.
Okay, so there's several scenes where you could see the face of Pazuzu flashing quickly, obviously, because that's why he's on the list, because he pops up, scares the shit out of us. That is his true form. He resembles a heavy, gaunt white face with dark rings around his dull red and brown, crooked, rotten teeth. The demon mask used in the movie Ani Baba, did I say that right?
Yep.
That's the one that you like. Inspired Friedkin
Oh no, shit! That's
to,
awesome.
To use a similar design
It's
for
one of
the
my
makeup
favorite horror movies.
and the shots, which you can actually see it in the eyes.
I can't believe I never caught that because it does look similar. Now I think about it.
And that mask is that's a legendary looking.
Oh my god,
like
it's
looking horror mask.
Yep.
So in these shots, the demon is actually played by actress Eileen Dietz, who underwent makeup tests for possessed Regan, wore the alternative makeups for her role as the demon. So
That's awesome.
she did some makeup tests for Regan, but they were like, you know what? You
could be
the
Lord of Hell instead.
Yeah, you could be the son of the Lord of Lies. Right. So I had some other notes here about it, but it was just Pazuzu stuff. You know, you see him in Iraq, blah blah blah. Goes by Captain Howdy, who's ultimately exorcised out of Regan's body, blah 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 blah. But the other reason Pazuzu made it on the list too is so he scared the shit out of people with a few frames in the 70s.
Yep.
And he made some other appearances in the other films, talking again through possessed people, and then another flash of that same face in one of the early 2000s kind of shitty Exorcist films.
Right.
But then Fox comes along.
Yep. I was gonna say.
And the Exorcist TV show came out, and I only watched it under yours and Jenny's recommendation because I wasn't going to watch it. I like the idea of it, but it's usually Fox TV shows.
You don't trust Fox.
I don't like Fox TV shows.
Right.
They have a very corporate I feel
they're
like
bland.
They're very bland, and they're always intercut with the Pepsi commercial. And so for some reason, I can't take it. But what sold me on Pazuzu coming up again, or Cat, they really refer to him as Captain Howdy a lot in the show, was his fucking voice.
Yeah, the voice was great. They nailed it.
Oh my god, it was the most eerie thing in the world. And in the show, they actually it played a lot of like what made I think the first Paranormal Activity kind of scary. Like it was like when you go into the basement of the house in the Exorcist TV show, it's just the daughter playing,
right,
and then just talking, and it's just like what the fuck. And then you don't hear Howdy's voice for a while, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
It comes later,
Yep.
But when it fucking comes, so they finally gave this guy a voice.
Yeah,
after 30,
which is amazing.
After from the 70s,
they didn't fuck it up.
No,
and I'd argue that you see Pazuzu's face in a different way more frequently than just the few frames, because he's terrifically ugly. Yeah, and everyone he possesses, he ends up turning ugly as well, right? So like he's literally he's turning people into like some broken version of him, which is
because Regan had like the rings around their eyes. Like it's sort of you can see how it's very similar to him, but it's Regan when she is possessed all the way, like she's very terrifying. But the true face of Pazuzu has always scared the shit out of me. So I'm like, okay, I can't. If you can scare me for years and years and years with a few frames of an image, you're on a list.
It's amazing because there are so many fun devil performances, i.e. like South Park or whatever. And I was just like, well, that's not really a performance, but whatever. I mean, sort of. But we started with two really dark movies. I didn't expect and I'm going to continue, although this one's going to be sort of a little bit out of left field for a while. But let me start this one with a quote from Roger Ebert, because my choice for second performance, I have two specific reasons why, is the performance by Emil Jannings as the devil in Faust. So this movie is a silent movie from 1926. Okay, but here's the opening paragraph. This is actually one of my favorite opening paragraphs of any article on film anywhere. This is what Roger Ebert says about this movie. The greatest master of horror in the silent era was a cheerful man. Much loved by his collaborators, even though they might lose consciousness from time to time by being enveloped in clouds of steam or surrounded by tongues of flame. F.W. Murnau made two of the greatest films of the supernatural, Nosferatu and Faust. Both voted among the best horror films of all time on IMDb. Faust surprisingly in fourth place, just ahead of The Shining, Jaws, and Alien. So I feel like, all right, it's qualified. Right? Yeah. Like you can't get more qualified than this, right? So there's a couple of really specific reasons why I love this. First of all, it's way ahead of all the other movies we're probably going to pick. So like it did it first, right?
Yeah.
But more than that, It is the single greatest first appearance. Well, not first technically, but the greatest appearance of the devil on Earth on film, bar none. There's just no other. The way he arrives in this film is he shows up hovering over a city, and he's literally like got his like devil cape, and as he opens his arms, he blots out the sun, causes an eclipse, and then vaporizes the city into like smoke and flames. I mean, it's the most like literally like other devils, like when Pacino shows up, he's got like the mischievous smile and he's like whatever, but they're just kind of like showing up, and then you got to figure out that the devil later. There's no waiting to figure out with this guy basically arrives like an atomic bomb. Right, that's his like appearance.
Now,
you have a thought, I could tell.
well, my number one makes a very, very similar move.
Real? Oh, I'm so excited to find out. Okay, fantastic. That's awesome.
Easy. Okay, so this was F.W.
This is
Murdoch.
F.W. Murdoch. So that one reason is just the appearance of it, which is just absolutely beautiful. But first of all, I think it's the best devil story ever told. So the story of Faust is that the devil and God, it's sort of like Job, the devil and God make a bet, and God, because, why not, says to the devil, if you can break Faust, turn him to evil, then I'll give you the whole earth. So
Yeah.
no pressure on us at all.
Yeah, just play cool.
Right. So, but what happens is, which is really cool, is Faust is an old man. He's a scholar and he's a doctor. So the devil shows up at his town and lays waste to the town with the plague, which drives Faust crazy because he just wants to save people. So he prays and prays and prays for people to be saved, but they're not being saved because God's holding back, letting the devil do his worst. And then Faust finally decides, fuck it. If, praying to God doesn't help, maybe I'll sell my soul to the devil. And the devil gives him the ability to cure people. So he's got like the best intentions for selling the soul. He's not selling soul to like Brendan Fraser style. Like he's selling the soul to
I got another note.
But here's the thing. This is what's really cool is the Faust is super smart. So devil has to go like next level to trick him. So check this out. This is amazing. He signs him up to a 24-hour trial period. No joke. He's like, I'm going to give you
Devil
20.
McAfee.
Yeah, he goes, I'm going to give you 24 hours and then the pact will be over. You can use your powers. And then he tricks him into falling in love with this young girl. And of course, as soon as his powers run out, the devil causes all kind of mischief with the young girl. And the only way to save her is to get his powers back. So he has to like sell his soul again for a longer period, which is hilarious. But there's this amazing part where the Faust doesn't know, or he may know, who knows. It's a silent movie, so it's hard to track the plot sometimes. But he doesn't know the girl that he's wooing. There's actually two girls he's in love with. When Faust leaves, the devil kills the girl's husband because she was married. And it's an amazing scene, Nick, because the devil freezes time and Faust escapes with the girl, and then he unfreezes it, and everybody in the room, it's like a big fancy room in Venice, everybody in the room looks around and they can't figure out where the girl went because they were all frozen. And the guy turns and the husband turns and he sees the devil, and he's scared, but he's like, the only way I can do to save myself is he grabs his sword and he stabs the devil, and the devil falls over and he's just laying on the ground with a sword sticking out of him. And then he turns into a shadow, and he's still on the ground with a sword in him, but he's also standing next to his own dead body. So there's this fake out moment and you see the actor who's playing the husband, he's looking down, he's looking over, he's looking down, he's looking over, and the devil is just staring at him, and he grabs the sword out of his own body and kills the husband with it. It's just like, it's 1926, and it's better than most special effects like I see, now, whatever. So
And complex.
yeah, it was totally amazing. So here you go. Watch this happy ending. This is what the devil achieves. He turns Faust young. Faust is with the girl. The devil arranges for the girl to get burned as a witch. She gets burned alive on a stake. Faust can't stop it. And then when Faust says, I renounce all the powers, I should have never been in this deal or whatever, the devil goes, fine. And then Faust is running to save the girl, and the devil smashes a mirror with Faust's image on it, and he instantly turns old. So while he's running towards the girl to save her, he's aging,
God.
which is
Damn.
so twisted, right? So he gets there too late and he throws himself into the fire and dies with her. Their spirits ascend to heaven. And then the devil goes up to claim his wager, and God basically just goes, no.
No, sorry.
and that's the end of
I'm the big man. You can't have these.
which was absolutely amazing that that's a thing. So it just blows my mind that that's kind of how that went, and I think that's amazing. So, side note, one of the actors in this movie, he was an actor who was young. He grew up and became the director of friggin' Devil and Daniel Webster. So this movie has like true satanic pedigree, right? But watch this. I'm just going to close with this one because it just gives me chills every time I think about it. This is the end of Ebert's review of this movie, right? So he goes, Murnau died before he was able to express himself fully in the sound era, where there's no telling what he might have accomplished. In death, he is surrounded by legend, not least in a strange little film called Shadow of the Vampire, where John Malkovich plays F.W. Murnau as a man whose star, Max Schreck, is in fact a vampire. Murnau promises Schreck that he can eat the leading lady as his payment, but the vampire grows hungry and devours the cinematographer next, leading to a desperate scene where Murnau muses himself, maybe we don't need the writer. The movie is not, by the way, a comedy, but feeds on the real horror that Murnau created. He was an absolute original. No one has ever made films that looked like his. They are strange and they are haunted. You reflect that if such satanic dealings were possible, they would definitely look like this.
Well,
how cool is that? So that's my number 2.
Let's talk about. Let's go from the greatness of cinema.
Uh-oh.
To my number 2 pick,
Bedazzled.
Which is Harvey Keitel's Devil and Adam Sandler's Little Nicky.
I love Little Nicky. Just the name, is that an influence on your choice?
Well, I went with it because it's Harvey Keitel, and I loved
amazing.
him in Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, and even the short-lived cop drama on ABC, Life on Mars, which was a very weird plot. I had to put on. So the film itself, for those of you who are not familiar with Little Nicky,
right?
And so you mentioned that we started off real serious. So
yeah, let's
we
break
had
it
to throw in a really random thing. So just a little background for those who are not familiar with the show. Having been the Prince of Darkness for 10,000 years, the devil assembles his sons to decide which of them will succeed him, but instead keeps the throne for himself. Which is a hilarious scene. He calls his 3 sons, and he goes, guys, for 10,000 years I've been doing this, and they're all like, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? And then he says, me, and they're all like, what the fuck is this? Meanwhile, the devil has he's basically a boss / father figure in the film, which is why I loved this devil. And while he's telling his sons he can't do that, his assistants are reminding him he has an appointment to shove a pineapple up Hitler's ass.
I love it. It's amazing.
And I just love that. He goes, sir, you have an appointment. And he's like tapping his watch. Like the devil has a fucking schedule in hell.
That's great.
So anyways, the sons, they get all pissed off. They leave hell, freezing it off so they can't, hell can't take any more souls, which causes the devil to his body starts decomposing. So then Adam Sandler takes a flask who sucks people inside, and he has to bring his sons or his brothers back to capture them. But the big thing that I really liked about this movie, because I actually got it for my birthday in like 4th grade or something like that.
That's hilarious.
And I remember watching the behind the scenes, and the thing I remember most about this film is just the set design for hell. It was really well done.
Yes,
like whenever I read something or see something that has hell involved in it, I usually imagine the hell they created. It was fucking well done. Like the one things I wrote about it was the costume design for Harvey Keitel. He had it was almost like if Adam Gomez was the devil. Like that is how he was dressed. Like it was like a suede suit, really beautiful cape, and he had like if you ever seen like the Daredevil comics, like he has like the D written over there for devil.
Of course he does.
So no one confuses it with him.
Right.
And he also had a really bitchin' throne.
Yeah,
like
he did.
it just looked. He
totally did.
Like if you imagine like what does the throne of the devil look like? That is probably like they just. It's so weird for like it was a critically panned film.
Of course.
Box office failure.
Sure.
But goddamn, if they didn't make Hell look really fucking cool.
Well, and you can never count Harvey Keitel out. Just you saying his name reminded me how fucking good he was in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh my god,
he's just amazing.
And the other thing is I loved how they made the devil a father figure. Like he cared about Nikki, and it's just all these other films. It's a devil or someone just raining fucking havoc everywhere. But this guy's like, son, listen. You don't have to roll over. You can just go back to your room and headbang to Ozzy. Like it's completely fine. And I just love that type of devil. You mentioned the South Park devil, so it's almost sort of similar, like a comedic devil.
Yeah, for sure.
But the other thing is like the shit he has on his schedule. So the pineapple with Hitler, and then there's a scene when he's talking to fucking Dan Marino. Is trying to sell his soul to the devil to win a few Super Bowls. And he goes, I'm sorry, you're just too nice of a guy. So the devil is like, most of the time the devil will be like, yeah, sure, I'll take your soul.
Yep.
But this devil goes, no. I like you. You're too kind. And then he fucking says, well, you did it for Namath. And he goes, Namath was coming here anyways. And then he storms off going, you know what? I'll just become an announcer and win an Emmy. And he goes, that's the spirit. So
it's so good.
So I don't have a whole lot more to say about Little Nicky, because his dad's he's not a huge part in it.
Yeah.
But when he's in it, he's just so.
It's a great performance.
He's just so always. Fucking good, and all the demons around him who are like his supporting demons are just fucking hilarious.
Yep.
So Harvey Keitel. There's no intelligent discourse there.
Doesn't matter. It makes me want to watch it again.
Watch it for his scene.
It's amazing.
So yeah, I had to put him on there.
No, I'm glad there's something because I'm going to go dark again. So I'm glad there was something.
Well, I'm glad I can at least bring Harvey Keitel into the Robert De Niro devil.
Yeah, right.
Conversation.
I'd love to see those two in a scene, toe to toe scene like the Ricky Rourke scene. So yeah, my number one choice is Viggo Mortensen in The Prophecy. I just think this is the best performance of a devil that I've ever seen on anywhere, really, because first of all, Viggo Mortensen is an amazing actor. He's a really interesting guy. Like when you look him up on Wikipedia, it's literally like Viggo Mortensen, actor, author, poet. I mean, the guy does like a million different kinds. His skill set is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He speaks like 8 languages, whatever. So the guy's amazingly talented, obviously. But in this movie, he's so sinister, and he's not in the movie a lot. He really only comes in sort of towards the end. It's really unique. The movie is a little bit of a mess plot wise. I like the movie. It's not by any means the best movie on our lists here, but for the budget it had, it does some amazing stuff. I mean, it started a franchise somehow, probably on the strength of Christopher Walken. But the plot is really interesting because there's an angel Gabriel, Christopher Walken, who's trying to set a chain of events into motion that basically would result in another hell. Mm-hmm. So the devil doesn't want there to be another hell. He feels like one is enough.
It should be.
Right. So he's trying to stop Gabriel. So it's actually the devil sort of, he's not the villain in this, right? Which is really interesting to have the devil not be, the actual villain. And every scene he's in is just absolutely chilling. There's a scene where he confronts, and a lot of his evil is like almost offhand, like, whatever, but he's got the best lines, Nick. Like he's got he meets, I think her name is Virginia Madsen, the actress from Candyman. He meets her and she's like, he just shows up and he's scary as hell. And she's basically like, no, I'm not doing this. He's like, come over here. We're going to talk. And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm not up for this. And he's like, I could lay you out and fill your mouth with your mother's feces, or we could talk. You're like, what the hell just happened? And then she trudges over.
I'll take my chances.
She's like, right? No, she does not. No one would. So, and literally when he pops into sight, she goes, oh my God. He's like, not God. God is love. I don't love you.
Jesus Christ.
Right? Like, but
He's almost like the vampire from 30 Days of Nights.
Yes. Yeah, very much. Absolutely. Another great performance. But he has this amazing line where basically the plot is that because the angels are in a civil war, that heaven is closed. Like no one, so everyone who dies is still stuck here in their bodies in the ground, and they'll rise later when everything's resolved. So they're not going into heaven. So he's talking about how, some souls are coming to him. Mm-hmm. And he literally says, some of them do eventually end up with me. He's like, heaven may be closed, but I'm always open, even on Christmas. Which is like a fall out of your chair line. Like, you're just like, just amazing gold.
He's just going full fucking
Oh my
flesh,
God, dude,
like...
it was totally amazing. But he's really actually legitimately scary. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that made me have to put him as the number one thing, because the concept is scary, and he legitimately pulls that part of it off. And I showed you the clip before we were doing this of the end where he's confronting Gabriel.
It makes me love Viggo Mortensen. I haven't seen them. I've only seen those clips you showed me. But so for the audience, I've only seen 30 seconds of this movie.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, is that a good performance of the devil?
That was amazing.
It knocked my socks off in 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
All right, sorry.
No, and that's exactly right. And that's the thing is that he's got my favorite line in not just this movie, but maybe almost any movie, is when he explains. Christopher Walken's like on the ground beaten, and he had escaped hell. He actually escapes hell again in Prophecy 2, I think. Mm-hmm. And so Lucifer's here to take him home, basically. By the way he takes him home is he tears out his heart and eats it, which is
the only way you can
devil's
do it.
way. Yeah, right. Yeah. The devil's return policy is rough, right?
30 days.
But literally this line is he's looking down at Christopher Walken, and Christopher Walken looks up at him and says,
"This war is mine. Your war is arrogant. That makes it evil. That's mine."
It's on my business card.
Exactly. And it is just the most bone chilling. It's basically like a math equation. He's like, no, you're a bad student. You had it wrong on the equal side. It's over here. It's mine. You're dead.
It falls into my lap.
Exactly.
My territory.
Which was great. And then there's this unbelievably creepy moment when he's already won. Gabriel's dead. And he wants to take the priest and Virginia Madsen down into hell with him. And he's like, come home with me too. And they're like, no, never. We'll never come with you. And he's like, I can't do justice to it. Nick will probably edit it in. But he basically goes,
"No, I want you both to come home with me." Never. I love you more than Jesus.
And it's like he's saying it like it's simultaneously somehow. Like it was crazy. Good. I mean, it's just,
he wants to bring them home.
Yeah, it's a next level, goddamn, no pun intended, performance.
He's such a good actor.
So, Prophecy is my number one.
Okay, so I got 2 pages of notes on this one.
Oh, God.
This one, the other ones were a few paragraphs. Like,
That's
Pazuzu,
fine.
you're very
Let's
scary. At the end of the day, you're just a few frames to me, scare shit out of me.
Yep.
Harvey Keitel, hug him on the hips, kiss him on the lips. I think he's a great actor. But number one,
yes,
when I become obsessed with something, I become obsessed.
I know this.
Like when I fell in love with the Haunted Mansion, I read about all the other locations, how it was built, how it was, they were trying to get built for the longest time.
Yep.
Which is also fitting, because this is another Disney thing, which is funny. Disney tops my top Devils.
Not Walt Disney himself, hopefully.
No. So I'm going to go with, I was pronouncing the name right before we recorded all the time. Chernabog.
Yes.
From Fantasia, 1940. Which is funny because you were talking about Faust and how the devil is like leering over the town and he spreads his wings up, which is how he makes his first appearance.
Now, yeah, no shit.
In
That's right.
Night on Bald Mountain. And so, fun fact, the name in the Slavic languages means black god.
Oh, wow.
And some of the artists who are working on it. So he's a god based on the he's a god based off god of the night in Slavic mythology.
Okay.
Something about the witch's Sabbath. He emerges from the peak of Bald Mountain to summon all of his minions. This is in Fantasia. To summon all of his demons who dance furiously as he throws them into the mountain's fiery pit. Mm-hmm. So the terrible dance,
Yes.
terrible dance recital. You don't want to show up there. So this is from the Disney wiki of him, and I love this. He's been praised as Disney's best representation of pure evil, and as animator Vladimir Taitlas, I'm sorry about that last name. His greatest triumph.
Man, that's an evil sounding name, even.
Right, right.
Yep.
As a very raw representation of evil, as he is in his original appearance, it is not placed with context of any real story, and his minions' actions are not committed in pursuit of any discernible goal other than general havoc, wrecking, and tyranny on all.
That's how it should be.
Some other media have given him attempts to create more context, which you don't need.
Right.
I think. By his design,
Original's best. Yep.
yeah, just what he's doing, you see what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very clear cut. So that's Chernobog from Disney's Fantasia.
And if the devil had to pick one song to represent him, I think "Night on Bald Mountain"
which
would be it.
the history is, so the character design of Chernobog was cool.
Yes.
They basically, one of the animators, the guy who was working on it, was working on in a dark room with a black light underneath his desk, illuminating the devil. And someone went in to go talk to him, looked at the design, and walked out.
That is awesome.
So that speaks to his design.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I chose this devil as number one, I chose Pazuzu because it was one frame that scared me. Little Nicky, I like the fact that they made the devil a father figure and added some comedic elements to it. But I went with Chernobog because everyone knows him from Night on Bald Mountain.
Yep.
So this is the only devil who, when you hear this song,
Yep.
they played it on the radio like randomly during the springtime when I was getting some food, and I was like, "That's a weird time to play this song."
That's a weird time.
But the first thing that popped in my mind was Chernobog. This
Yeah,
devil,
for sure.
and I went with him because he's the only devil who definitely has a theme. Like, this could be the theme song for the devil. Like,
Yes,
when
it
you
could.
hear this stuff, you know what this means. You know it means havoc for no reason. So the history behind
And I just pulled him up because I wanted to remind myself what he looked like, and that is a great design. Holy
Right?
crap. Yeah.
right? So he's a representation of pure evil. History of Night on Bald Mountain is kind of a crazy one. It's not super crazy, but it's pretty interesting. So dig this. Lots of people recognize the piece as it was included in the arrangement by Leopold Stawowski in the 1940 film Fantasia. OBS. The version that we hear is either by Nico. These are all Russian names, so I'm just gonna go right through them.
It's Mussorgsky, right?
Nikolai Rimsky,
Korskov. Okay.
Korskov, or you hear the Stokowski. You hear the
Right.
Leopold version.
Yes.
But Mussorgsky,
Yes.
the original that he wrote is rare because
Oh, no shit.
of how he came about it. So I guess he was a genius, but he was also like super drunk and super lazy. So he had two things battling against him. This is according to online. I don't know
Against
if he was
him?
Yeah. So listen to this. So we had another famous piece called Pictures at Exhibition. Mussorgsky wrote Night on Bald Mountain ridiculously quick. He finished it completely in 12 days in a blaze of creativity, did not even bother making a first draft. He simply exploded his brain onto the page, creating the final version in one go.
Wow.
So that fucking piece.
That's rare for classical music.
You don't
yeah.
hear his piece, obviously, because I'm going to get to that here in just a second.
Right.
Because he never got to hear
It performed.
because he died 5 years after he passed. Korskov, Jesus Christ,
Rimsky-Korskov
took bits and pieces from all three versions and smashed them together.
Okay.
So you didn't get to hear
You don't hear the original one that, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't get to hear the actual on the page thing, but it's very similar because they wanted to stay.
So my theory on this is that he sold his soul to the devil to write a great piece of music, and the devil killed him before he could hear it performed, and then robbed him of all the glory of doing it by handing it off to someone else.
And then waiting, like, because it was like
That's
1800s, like late 1800s, and then Disney's in 1940 finally made it what it was.
Don't sell your soul to the devil.
Don't sell your soul to the devil. So anyways, they smash it together to create they call it the diabolical thunderclap everyone loves today. Yeah. I love that, because as soon as you hear that song start, and it's just, and they've even used it for like Snickers commercials during Halloween time, sure. And it's sort of like Toccata and Fugue and D, whatever. Everyone always calls it the Dracula's theme. Yep, it's on par with that music
for sure.
So it's actually based off like some Russian mythology and a few stories, and there's two of them.
Okay.
So the Rimsky-Korsakov version, which was the reconstruction. This is how the source. He tried to keep as much of Mussorgsky's original ideas as possible.
Sure he did.
Without putting, without putting as much of his own material. Right. But you find that gold mine, you're like,
right.
I'll just claim it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, here's the Mussorgsky's version of the story.
Yes.
Assembly of witches. Their talk and gossip. 2. Satan's journey. 3. Obscene praises of Satan. And then 4 is the Sabbath. So then the Sabbath.
How is that not a Black Sabbath album title?
Right?
Obscene praises of Satan.
So that's his version. The next version is the one that most people would probably be familiar with.
Right.
Unless you're Russian and you grew up here and that kind of shit.
Right.
So here's the other version. Subterranean sounds of unearthly voices, appearances of spirits of darkness, followed by that of Chernobog, the Black God. Glorification of Chernobog in celebration of Black Mass, Witches' Sabbath. At the height of the orgy, the bell of the little village church is heard from afar. The spirits in darkness disappear. Daybreak. And the witches say, "Quite a ride, isn't it?" I think that's what they say.
This is all putting me in a really Disney mood.
Right?
What the hell?
And that's the other thing that scared me. You're watching Fantasia, and then they drop this shit onto you? Could you... It scared me then. It scares me now.
Well, Fantasia is definitely Disney's most amazing work of art. So that's amazing.
But apparently he can't stand church bells or daylight. So that's what does it in for him. Apparently his powers consist of limitless power. So, but the sun, the daybreak, and church bells do it for him. So I don't know. But I loved the history of it. It was the original piece was supposed to be parts of a few different operas that he had started and stopped, and it's just weird. Like some guy out there wanted to create this thing, stopped it. Wanted to create this thing, stopped. One day was like, "Fuck it, 12 days, here it is," dies, and then someone else puts it together and creates.
That's amazing.
And the fact that whenever you hear that, you think of like the devil and scare. Like you hear the notes and you know what they mean. That's what makes it so good for me. Both on two different parts. One is the design, because he is the representation of evil, which to me would be Satan.
Yep. And
2, the music does the job for him. It's just the perfect soundtrack for the devil. If hell broke loose, this song would play.
And then on the Disney wiki, it says his appearances are in Fantasia 2000, Sorcerer's Apprentice, and then it says Night on Bald Mountain upcoming.
They're making it a live action.
Oh, no kidding.
So I'll be damned if the homage to Faust doesn't show up, because that's where they got it for the original.
That's amazing. So, and then down here, performance model, initially Bela Lugosi.
Really?
Yep.
Well,
that's pretty amazing.
That makes sense.
All right. Well, this is making me want to watch all kinds of evil movies.
I listened to the song today, and I was like, it gets me every time. So
all right, and then we had some honorable. I don't actually have the only thing I wanted to shout out. Elizabeth Hurley in Bedazzled is pretty fucking amazing. Like just like sheer.
That's who I had.
Yeah, talk about like going 1,000% into just like chewing the scenery and. So that's a great performance. I already talked about Devil and Daniel Webster because I think that's an amazing performance. Constantine we covered because that's pretty incredible. Another scene stealing thing where he's not in the movie very much at all. And then, I feel sad skipping so much over Pacino and Devil's Advocate because I like the movie.
Yeah.
And I like most of his performance. Not a big fan of like his over the top shit at the end in the confrontation with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Every time we're doing a Facebook post about devilish things, I see that the gif of him like with his head exploding behind him and screaming, and I'm like, oh, come on now. But
End of this.
But there are some pretty great sly things he does in the quieter scenes. My favorite parts of that movie are when he's just kind of like walking and talking to Keanu Reeves like he really does run a law firm, and he's sort of schooling him on like how to get ahead, but the wrong way. And there's kind of some cool stuff that he does with that. It's just not a favor enough for me to put up on the top. But that's all I had. Do you have other?
So I almost put Damien, but
Right, of course.
But he's the son, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah, but you could do. He's the son. I mean,
But I did Pazuzu,
Yeah,
so
so-
I'm not gonna come. But I didn't want to put him on this.
Yeah.
The only other person I had Elizabeth Hurley from Bedazzled.
Yep.
The only other person I had was the main villain from the Diablo series.
Right.
Diablo.
Right.
One of the great three evils.
Right.
Because it is, I think, for all three games. And if you're listening and you want to see some really cool cutscenes, Blizzard does really beautiful like cinematics for their games. And the fact that you spend countless hours hacking and slashing multiple, thousands of demons and all kinds of demonic creatures to then lead up to this one giant battle with the devil, it's always a good time.
Yep.
And the other great thing is when you kill Diablo, I mean, you have to really capture him or capture her, and in Prisoner, because if you kill her, she'll always just come back in a certain amount of years or something like that. So,
Yeah.
So and I was reading her wiki today, and I love that they call it the great, what was it, the great conflict.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I think that's what they called it, and I just love the fact that there's always going to be, no matter how many times you kill her, no matter how many times she kills the angels or the good guys, there's always going to be a balance of good fighting evil, and I love that. That story is always fucking dope.
No, that's awesome.
So I had to give a shout out to.
And I also wanted to. I mean, Witches of Eastwick, the Jack Nicholson performance. I struggled over that a little bit, but I don't really like the movie at all, so I'm pretty biased, right? Even though it has an amazing cast, but the scene of him in the church is fun, but it's Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Like I'm just, there's some performances where I get past where it's Jack Nicholson, but I just felt like he was he was just channeling Jack Nicholson. So
that's it. Yeah.
He was more like him than the devil to me. Like that was, and then we can't skip Tim Curry as Darkness and Legend, because that's a pretty amazing. That talk about design.
When you see that, it takes you actual 0 seconds to be like, oh, devil. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like Tim Curry, who's absolutely amazing. So, believe it or not, I actually had, when I first did the list, I had not thought of Faust because it's been a while since I've seen it, and my list had the Devil from Passion of the Christ on it. I thought it was a really great performance. It's not in there much, but if you ever go and you haven't seen this, right?
Nope.
If you ever go and check out a couple clips, first of all, it's the devil being played by a woman, and it's the most animalistic performance. Like the entire performance is like she's half snake.
Wow.
Right, and it's super creepy, and she doesn't say a lot, but she's just a really, really creepy design too, and I really liked the performance, but I thought Faust just knocked it out of the box once I remembered what it was. But it's a pretty, not many people would think of it, especially horror fans, but it was pretty amazing. And the design for that one, you reminded me when you said design, that's the design.
Oh,
it's pretty damn creepy.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's
so,
kind of scary.
but that's it. I think we covered all of them. And what I want to know is the ones we missed, the favorites the fans have, hit us up on the Facebook page, let us know. Leave a comment on iTunes while you're
while you're there. And if
while
you're
you're-
not subscribed, get subscribed to iTunes.
That's right.
Come on, man. You want to wake up, look at your phone, and be like, what's that?
Well, yeah, because if you don't subscribe, if we don't hit a certain number of subscribers, we are going to sell our souls to the devil. You don't want that.
No, because then the devil's just going to be like, follow Nicky Johnny or whatever his name is. Then I'm going to have to follow me around. I'm going to be like, wow, what a goofy motherfucker that guy is. And then devil's be like, that's you.
Yeah.
And you have to live with that. I'm like,
You don't want
"Ah!"
us to. You don't want us to end up that way.
No. So until next time, watch a bunch of horror movies and stay scary.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.